Thank you for listening to another edition of Partners in Education on Sunny Radio. I've got a couple of guests in the studio. I've got Matt and I've got Eric. We've got Eric over here. Before we dive into this month's program, first of all, how are things going with you?
Oh, just beautiful. Enjoying summer music. We had the Jazz Fest here. We've had the Blue Angels in.
A lot of fun stuff.
Food Truck Friday at the bakery last week. Again, just tremendous success. And it's just hard. It's hard not to get excited during summer, especially after we endure a winter. It seems like the last 6 years.
Yeah,
right?
that was a long, hard
it
winter.
It did seem that. And then, on just the facility side and stuff, we just continue. Demand is just at an all-time high for folks wanting to get help, and that always gets us excited.
Yeah.
I was just down at the facility here early part of this week, where the families are in again, and that always gets me.
And that's at Keystone Treatment Center in Canton?
Yeah, down at the main campus in Canton. And, it's just the sheer volume of people that are maybe having, for the first time ever, an answer to prayer.
Some clarity in their life.
Some things can change.
Yeah.
That we can we can right this ship. And then from a local, I believe we beginning the last transition into our new location here for our outreach, and maybe Matt can speak a little bit more to that if he feels. But a lot of changes going on with Keystone in terms of getting facilities, and but the bottom line, what gets me excited is people getting help.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you want to hear. And Matt, what kind of great things are going on in your world over here right now?
Well, as Eric said, we are moving our outpatient office. We were in one location, our lease was up, and before we could get into our new location, there was a time gap.
Yeah.
So we have a temporary office, and we'll be moving now into our permanent location for the outpatient office down off of Kiwanis.
Very nice. So that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
So good things going on there as well. And we're going to dive into our Partners in Education for this month, coming up tomorrow from 11:30 until 1 at the bakery. It's Pie at the Bakery, Partners in Education. This month's topic is compassion fatigue, supporting professional and personal wellness. This is something where there are a lot of people who work in your industry who get burned out pretty darn quick, don't they?
Yeah, that, quite honestly, I think we probably, other than policemen, Matt, would you not agree? I think in law enforcement, it's probably got the shortest lifespan.
Yeah, where they
as a professional in the helping field, and I think for obvious reasons, it's not always easy. I think to deal with some of the situations that people in this field, the alcohol drug field, mental health field, have to deal with in, day out.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate what you guys do, and we're going to be learning quite a bit about that compassion and that fatigue this month during Partners in Education at the bakery. And we've got Matt Walls with us here as well. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm great, John. How are you?
Fantastic. We're glad to have you in the studio. Now, you're going to be part of the program tomorrow as well. Is that right?
Yes.
So now, what is it? Which element of this are you going to be speaking about?
I'm going to be
fatigued.
He's the fatigue part. Okay. No, I'm going to be the more the MC, more the introduction. Type of thing. I'm putting the event on.
Very, very nice. Now, how long have you worked in the mental health field?
I've worked in the chemical dependency mental health field for about 15 years now.
Very, very nice.
I've tried to get out multiple times. God keeps bringing me back.
This is your calling. I can tell you, we've only known each other now for about a year, maybe a little less than a year, but I can tell during that amount of time, you definitely have a heart for this. And I can't imagine you doing anything else. So I hope you like it, because this is where you're supposed to be, and this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, I really enjoy it most of the time. About 95% of the time, I really enjoy my work.
Well, those other 5% of the time, if you need somebody to talk to, call Eric. And you can call me.
I think actually I'm the 5%.
Oh, are you the 5%?
No. That 5% would be reduced if I was maybe doing it from Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
Or someplace like that. But
now let's talk to Eric. How long have you been in this field, sir?
30 years.
So how in the world, because what is the average in this industry?
Well,
it's a lot
remember
less
when
than
I
that.
was getting educated, and I was down at the University of South Dakota getting my graduate degree, my master's degree down there. They said the average lifespan was 5 years. And I think Matt had spoken earlier to me and to both of us that, it's like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
In the state of South Dakota, my understanding is that in the chemical dependency counselor profession, the average length of stay for a counselor at a specific agency is 2 years before they change employers or drop out of the field entirely.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember, it kind of startled me because we were investing a little bit into this. Not only time, but money. It is a profession, and I think you need the training and you need everything that goes with it. But, to get a 5-year return, I remember it kind of startled me. But I think as Matt has learned, and, in this field, in any field, the important thing is, your mentors and who do you want to emulate. And I remember we had discussions about, how John, have you lasted in radio for how many years now?
20-something, 24.
Yeah, and yet others, maybe it's not as stressful, but
some
knowing
days.
you, some days it is. It's, there was some keys that they had, and I remember kind of getting into their head a little bit as best I could to find out, what it was about them that not only allowed them to be, I think, impactful in their work. They actually changed lives.
Yeah.
It was evident. But they've done it over the long haul. And they taught me a few things. I remember there was Father Rock who had helped me. He was a Catholic priest that I think helped more people than Carter had his pills, I think as my father used to say. And I asked him, how is it that you can do what you've done for this many years? And he said, Eric, he says, faith moves mountains. Have you heard that? And I said, yeah, I have. I've been to the pew there. I'd heard him say that, faith moves mountains. He says, well, really, it's one shovel at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, well, nobody told me that. I'd rather for the mountain to move, and that it's work. And it's work over a period of time is where you really have impact. The other thing that I remember is that it was a program or a training weekend we were at down in Omaha. And I had come into touch again with another kind of a spiritual / professional individual that had just impacted a lot of lives. And he quoted Mother Teresa. He said, if you want to be a light unto the world, he says, you've got to make sure to put oil in the lamp.
Yeah, very true.
And to me, it's for me to be in this field this long, the number one thing is that I take care of myself.
Yeah.
Being a recovering alcoholic like I am, I got to make sure I'm taking my insulin, so to speak.
Like they tell you on the airplane when they talk about if you're going to have a crash landing, first put your own mask on, then help the people next to you. You got to take care of yourself first, otherwise you're not going to be able to help those around you.
Well, and it's not so much that the motive is all centered about me either. I don't want people to get that idea, but I just got to make sure my own house is in order, so to speak, before I can go help my friend Matt over here get his house in order.
Yeah.
So much of what we do, they say, is kind of more of a program of attraction. People have got to see something in our lives that makes them go, what makes you different, John? What makes you different, Matt?
Do you want to list?
Attraction.
I'm pretty different. So.
Because recovery in and of itself, the idea that it's easy or it's an event is just not true. I mean, it takes work. So I think first and foremost is with professional wellness is personal wellness. And I think and believe that JC will talk at great lengths about that. We've got to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and that's on all three levels. And maybe Matt could add on to this, but on spiritual level for both of us is extremely important. That's the first thing I turn to every day. And then it seems as if the mental and the physical part and the wellness tends to take care of itself.
And it's kind of one of the things that I've noticed is in my life, maybe it's different for others, but it's like when you button a shirt, if you get one button off, it just doesn't work, So you kind of these things all work together.
You've been watching me, John.
Yeah. But if you, if you, so like you were talking about the spiritual, that kind of has to come first, and if that gets kind of out of line, well, then everything else kind of just seems to follow suit. And
it
get out of
does
line
for
as well.
me, and I think a lot of the folks that I've met over the years. That is a common theme. I used to think at one point in this field that I knew a lot. You kind of get to this point of being in the field, being impactful for a while, reading just huge. I consume books.
Yeah.
that I kind of felt like I had this thing figured out. And all it really was a brief moment of my arrogance resurfacing. Because the longer I'm in this field, the more I know I'm not an expert.
And you realize just how much you don't know.
Exactly. The other thing is I know far less than I did even 10 years ago. But the things that I know really well, and I believe in even more. So I believe in less things, but the things that I believe in, to me, are at the cornerstone of what we do to help people. But that's why, as a team, and then I'll turn it over to Matt here,
Yeah.
the one thing that we do as a team while we're out there, and I always am more interested, I'm interested in, that you're out doing your job and doing all these things, but what I'm more interested in is, are they taking care of themselves?
Yeah.
Because I know that as long as we're healthy between the ears, and we're taking care of stuff, the rest of it is all passion.
All
and
comes
then we're
together.
out sharing that, and we're helping people. And ultimately, we all need to feed a family. But what we're in this business to do, and that's to help people. So we're excited to have J.C. Chambers in. Now, J.C. I've known for a lot of years. Stronghold Counseling does a ton of good for this community and now out West River. And so I'm excited for you to get to spend some time with him, and then tomorrow for all of us to have him share his vast experience with it. So, Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit here about your experience.
Matt, what are some of the things that you've learned in the amount of time that you've been doing this?
Well, I've learned that I've got to take care of myself first, and that doesn't make me selfish. It just means that if I'm not filled, then I can't help anybody else. If I'm not doing what I need to do for me to stay at a peak level, then I get burned out. This happens to everybody in the helping field. I don't care what sector of the helping field you're in. This happens to everybody, whether you're in social work, mental health, health care, nursing, or other kinds of health care delivery, elder care, education. Teachers get burned out quite a bit, or any other realm of helping people, whether you do it as your primary work function or as a caregiver to somebody struggling with any type of illness or disease that may need help.
And sometimes this isn't even necessarily their profession as far as like a job that they do, but maybe it's caring for a loved one or a family member or even just a friend, being that person that's giving the compassion and helping. A lot of the time, people that do that can get burned out too.
That's right. And parents.
Yeah.
If you're a parent of a child, especially of small children, they need a lot.
You're laughing because you're thinking of when you were a child and all the things you put Mom through. We've heard
and
those
I'm
stories.
thinking of my wife. We have 3 small children at home, and she just, by the time I get home from work, she's ready to hand the children over to me.
Your turn.
And she wants a break, and I understand that.
Yeah,
I respect that, and that's great that she can ask for a break. Because she deserves it. Everybody deserves a break.
Everybody does. And our program this week is coming up tomorrow for, again, Partners in Education. It's pie at the bakery tomorrow, and it's going to be happening. If you get down there at about 11 o'clock, that's usually the best time to get there so you can grab some food and get some things. But the program itself starts at 11:30, goes till about 1. Topic tomorrow, compassion fatigue, supporting professional and personal wellness. And we're going to be reaching out to J.C. Chambers here in just a bit. Now, I've not yet had a chance to meet J.C., so you guys give me a little scoop on who J.C. is. You were telling me that he's a great guy, and I'm excited to chat with him.
J.C. is a great counselor. He's got a lot of educational credentials, but overall he's a very engaging person. J.C. is going to talk about the sources of burnout, why we get burned out, what we can do about it, so that we can be okay, so that we can be filled, and so we can help other people in a more professional way. Some of the things that he's going to talk about is sustaining the professional self by having meaningful work, setting boundaries. A lot of folks, we want to help and help and help, but we don't set great boundaries, and then we get really stretched. A lot of times we don't grow, or we don't keep learning. We stop learning. We say, this is what I'm going to do, and we keep doing this, and we don't grow from that. That creates burnout. If we are a perfectionist, which many are, we say, this isn't perfect, therefore I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
What about just being good enough?
Yeah.
Doing our best and understanding that is good enough, and that's just fine.
See, and I grew up, I remember one of my friends, his father, and I worked on this guy's farm, he used to say to his son and to me when I worked there, he'd say, remember, good enough never is. So he was saying, good enough is never good enough. I was thinking, that's kind of a hard thing to live up to. So,
Well,
sometimes
set
good
you up
enough
for failure, too.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's not true. Sometimes good enough is good enough.
That's right. And as long as we're nurturing ourselves and we're understanding what do we need and our needs are met, then we can be better in the field and better at what we do.
Well, we'll be reaching out to JC here in just a bit for Partners in Education. And again, the program is tomorrow at the Bakery in downtown Sioux Falls. Bakery is a fun little place. If you've not yet had a chance to get in there, even if you can't make it to this event, you got to get in there and check the place out. It's a really nice facility. And this is one of the many events that they do there. They have a lot of fun stuff there, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And just remind folks, if you want to check the bakery out, you can go down on Fridays. It's free Friday. And get a tour. And we just appreciate the partnership and have from the beginning of having a place where we can bring the community together, use the technology with the webcasts and the live stream to kind of, I guess, get a message out.
Yeah.
And it's being reached, throughout the Midwest. And so our partnership with them is strong, and we look forward to a continued partnership as we do with you.
Yeah, we've enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun, and I learn something every month. It's a great program for people to be able to listen, even if you don't get to make it to the actual Partners in Education. By listening to this program, whether you're listening to it on the radio or if you click on and listen to the podcast, you get a really good snapshot of what they're going to be talking about, and it's a way to get the info. And at least, if nothing else, you know who to reach out to. So if you're saying, I couldn't make it, but boy, I got a question on this thing that you guys were talking about, reach out to those resources and let them know that you heard it on Partners in Education. And we'll be connecting with J.C. Chambers coming up in a moment. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of Partners in Education on Sunny Radio.
Keystone Treatment Center would like to help you kick your addiction. Whether you struggle with drugs, alcohol, or some other addiction, Keystone may be able to help you find freedom. Call our toll-free number to learn more at 1-844-204-1055. Thousands of success stories from clients all over the country. Be the next success story. Get the help you need from Keystone Treatment Center. Chances are your addiction will not go away on its own. Get the pain to stop and let freedom begin. It starts with a call, 1-844-204-1055.
Thank you so much for listening to Partners in Education. This month, we've got a special guest joining us right now, J.C. Chambers, and J.C. is with Stronghold Counseling Services. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, we're excited to visit with you, and Matt and Eric had very good things to say. They say you're a pretty good guy, so you must be okay then, right?
I hope so.
Now, let's first of all talk a little bit about you and your background. How long have you been doing what you're doing, sir?
I've been in practice in Sioux Falls probably 33 years.
And what got you interested in doing this in the first place?
My interest has always been kids and families. So, when I got done with college back in the day, I thought I was going to be a teacher and a coach. Got in the classroom and really, really enjoyed working with the more difficult kids and really had a natural knack for those kids. And then came up here to Sioux Falls and enrolled in a seminary here in town. And about a month into my program, the guy saw me with kids and asked me to come work for him. I hadn't even really been trained yet, but he saw something in me in regards to my capacity to connect with people, and particularly kids. And his quote to me was, "I can teach you how to counsel. I can't teach you to do what you already do naturally," which is quickly connect with kids. And so, I had to learn how to, go from connecting with kids to connecting with parents to learning how to really connect and enjoy working with families. And then my first job I took was in a treatment center. So I ended up working in a place where we had lots of families and lots of pain, lots of crisis, and as a consequence, there was a high degree of turnover in the staff. So probably 4 years in, I became a supervisor, and I was responsible for not only the kids and families I was seeing, but the staff. And so I started to really ask questions as to why people burn out, why people fatigue, why people crash and burn, why people relapse in the field. And so, what you guys have asked me to talk about today and tomorrow really fits that venue, comes out of sort of what I've observed and some of the training that I do to try to help.
Again, visiting with J.C. Chambers right now. He's with Stronghold Counseling. Now, the Partners in Education topic this month is a topic that has been very near and dear to the folks that I've been talking to so far. It's called Compassion Fatigue, Supporting Professional and Personal Wellness. And this is something that's pretty close to home because a lot of the people that work in this industry, this does kind of wear on you, and you need to get a little recharge yourself once in a while, don't you?
Absolutely. I was one of the victims, so that's part of the other reason why it's important is Stronghold Counseling Services really the idea for it was in place when we first moved up here, but the impetus to move into the practice was because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and ended up sick and almost died in a hospital in 93. And when I came out of the hospital, the creator and my support group really made it clear that it was probably time to make a move. One of the people of which was my wife, who was really instrumental in helping me see that everything that I had wanted to do, I had accomplished, and it was time to move on. But I wasn't taking very good care of myself, so I could blame it on the job, but fatigue is really what happens to you, and then the reason it becomes such a horrible problem is that you don't pay attention to your own fatigue. So you keep working, and then bad stuff starts to happen. Lots of times it's medical, physical, but sometimes in our field it's recovery, so your recovery is at risk. So in our profession we have a lot of people who are recovering addicts, and if you fatigue physically, emotionally, and mentally, then you're probably going to relapse. And so, we had a handful of people that we lost because they went back to using. So, it became fundamentally clear to me in 93 that all this stuff I'd talked, now I'm a victim of, and most of it was because I wasn't managing myself.
And that's really important, to take care of yourself. And as selfish as it sounds, take care of yourself first, but it's really not selfish, because if you can't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of others second.
That's true. Well, in the airplane, what do they tell you?
Exactly.
They tell you to put your oxygen mask on first and then put the oxygen mask on your kids. And that's really counterintuitive. Most of the time in desperation, we don't think about ourselves, we think about the people we care about. But in order to really care well, you have to take care of yourself. And in this profession, when you're a caregiver, nurse, doc, psychologist, counselor, pastor, teacher, nurse, rest home care, respite care, any of those kinds of professions, the only tool you have is you. You in most of the time, if I'm working with a welder, if I'm working with a carpenter, if I'm working with a surgeon, they keep their tools in tip-top shape. The problem is when you're caregiving, most time we don't take good care of ourselves. We don't keep our tools sharp and in good shape. And so, what I want to try to do tomorrow is just present an overview of kind of how people typically handle conflict and handle fatigue, and how they fatigue, what it looks like when they fatigue. Talk a little bit about what the care continuum looks like in terms of there's lots of research on secondary burnout, and compassion fatigue, and secondary trauma, those kinds of things, about how to take care of yourself and the difference between caring for and taking care of. So I got to care for myself and not caretake. And I care for as opposed to caretake, or then I'm in better shape. And the people that I love and care about are in better shape. So that's the other piece.
Again, our guest right now, J.C. Chambers, and he's with Stronghold Counseling, and he will be the presenter, one of the presenters tomorrow, but I believe the main presenter tomorrow at the Partners in Education event, and we're going to give everybody an invitation to come out and join us for that. The event itself goes from 11:30 until 1. It's at the bakery in downtown Sioux Falls. Now, if you get there a little bit early, you can grab something to eat as well, and yes, there will be pie. Because we call this Pie at the Bakery. That stands for Partners in Education. So be sure to get there early, have some lunch, have some pie, and then enjoy a really nice presentation from J.C. Chambers. And I know there'll be some other speakers as well. But it is a great event. It's been a really neat thing. They've been doing this every month this year. So we're excited for this one as well. Again, tomorrow's topic is compassion fatigue, supporting professional and personal wellness, and it is a very important thing. Now, JC, a lot of the time when we start talking about things like this, we think about people who are employed in this field, but there are also people who are not employed in this field, but they're family members, or maybe it's a wife or a husband, or it's the father or the mother, or it's somebody that's in the family with somebody. They have the same exact things that happen to them, don't they?
They do. I mean, actually, one of the things I do is when I do work with parents, I talk with parents about compassion fatigue as well. You know, I think when you're in love with someone who needs extra care, you know, you have a special needs kid, or you have a husband with, you know, heart or respiratory issues, or mental health issues, or you have a wife with mental health issues, or anxiety, depression, or some sort of disability, you're a candidate for compassion fatigue, because you're putting in a little extra care and compassion than some people who have spouses or kids that they can be independent of. Even people who, in South Dakota, you see this more than in other places, where mom and dad are getting old, so we bring mom and dad into the house, you know, and it's a great thing to have mom and dad, even if mom and dad are failing and they want to die around family. But the downside to that is compassion fatigue, you know. And what happens is that if you don't take care of it in those settings, more often you take it out on family members, you know, so they end up paying for the kind of exhaustion that you're under, and you get irritable and snappy and those kinds of things with people that you can get irritable and snappy with, but not with the people that are making you tapping your fatigue.
And sometimes it's hard for people who've not been through that to understand. I remember growing up, our grandmother lived with us for a while, and right now my mother is taking care of her mother, so my other grandmother, and I see a lot of time and effort that she puts into helping, and I can definitely tell you this happens. It absolutely happens. But, you know, for people who maybe have never experienced it, they might not understand it, but it certainly is definitely a thing, and it's very important to make sure that you know what to do when you're in that situation.
True. And so, and it's the other thing that I would like to say to people is it's not a sign of weakness, or you're crazy or uncaring. Like, I've lost the capacity to care for my mom or my son, or to care as a therapist, or to care as a nurse, or to care for my patients as a doc. It's a normal hazard for people who spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you know, 20 to 25 days a month, caring for people and getting paid for it, or volunteering and getting paid for it, or extra care at home and not getting paid for it. So, because you're putting a little extra stress on yourself to utilize your compassion, your understanding, and your crisis management more so than people who don't have that extra care. Every job has its hazards. So for those of us who care for other people emotionally, mentally, physically, that's the hazard. It's just a normal hazard. So you have to, you know, it's like rust. You know, if I leave my tools out in the rain, rust will start.
Yeah.
So we do things to prevent it. And in compassion fatigue, you know, you don't go to school and hear, you know, when I'm working to be a nurse or be a doc, or in my case a psychologist and a CD therapist, there's very few lessons or chapters on tool management and of reducing fatigue and minimizing your stress and learning how to play and learning how to use your other side of your brain to get, you know, to help you stay well. So, you know, I get an opportunity every once in a while, like I have tomorrow, to share the good news with some folks and maybe prevent them from ending up in the hospital like I did.
Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you so much for what you do, and I'm excited to for the program tomorrow to hear what you have to say. I think it's going to be really nice. And earlier you were talking about, you know, sometimes the reason people don't seek help is because they feel like maybe they're going to feel bad, like, well, maybe I don't love them enough because I need this help. Honestly, I think it's quite the opposite. I think by showing that, hey, I love you so much that I want to get this extra help, I almost think that it's the opposite of what they might automatically think, that, wow, this is a sign of weakness. No, it is a sign of strength because you knew that you needed some help.
True. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the things we're trying to get across, and trying to present this stuff to people in a non-threatening, caring, compassionate way, so people start to get the sense, hey, I think I'm a candidate, and maybe this will help me turn it around. The thing I think is that, boy, lots of people end up leaving the profession and thinking it was them, and it was because they crashed and burned, but usually it's because those of us in the profession who's experienced it have been keeping their mouth closed. It hasn't helped people see the signs. This talk actually started out of a conversation I used to have for a half hour, which is how to crash and burn as a therapist, and it was sort of tongue-in-cheek, and I presented 15 ways to crash and burn as a therapist, and the first five points people are cracking up, and then the next 5, some of the laughing stops, and then by the time I get past halfway, some people aren't laughing anymore. It ain't funny anymore.
Yeah.
And, and then I thought, man, I better develop this a little bit more because it seems to have play, and people always ask, did he do that? Did he do that thing? And so anyway, we'll have a good time. We'll have a good time.
Well, JC, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today, and excited for the program tomorrow.
Thank you.
Again, JC Chambers right there. He is with Stronghold Counseling. He'll be a presenter tomorrow at the event Partners in Education, also known as PIE, at the bakery. And the event starts at 11:30. If you get there a little early, you can get some lunch as well. But from 11:30 until 1, a really nice program. And tomorrow's topic, compassion fatigue, supporting professional and personal wellness. We're going to be visiting with Matt and Eric one more time from Keystone. That's coming up after this on Partners in Education.
Keystone Treatment Center would like to help you kick your addiction. Whether you struggle with drugs, alcohol, or some other addiction, Keystone may be able to help you find freedom. Call our toll-free number to learn more at 1-844-204-1055. Thousands of success stories from clients all over the country. Be the next success story. Get the help you need from Keystone Treatment Center. Chances are your addiction will not go away on its own. Get the pain to stop and let freedom begin. It starts with a call, 1-844-204-1055.
Thank you again for listening to Partners in Education on Sunny Radio. Going to wrap things up. We've got Matt and Eric from Keystone Treatment Center in the studio here once again. Now, the big event is coming up tomorrow. It's pie at the bakery. It was funny because during the break we were talking about what kind of pie we're going to have. So.
Well, and I'm hoping for key lime. Matt is really
he's the
in
pie
charge.
getter?
Yep. So if pie's good, Matt gets all the credit. If pie's not so good, Matt gets all the credit.
There you
I'm
go.
going to work hard to find some key limes and make some pie.
Yeah, we need some key lime.
That was the discussion during the break. Is it's summer and we need key lime pie.
We did.
I didn't know that summer was key lime pie time, but now I know, and I'm going to get out and have some.
It's on the islands. It's great.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So now tomorrow is the big event, Pie at the Bakery, Partners in Education. What time should people start showing up down there?
Well, we hope, I think 11 o'clock, in order to get some, because we do serve lunch, not just pie, and then get into the classroom at the bakery, and we begin promptly at 11:30 with the live stream and the live audience. So, I would suggest, Matt, you think 11 o'clock, and we'll be wrapped
at 11,
up.
Get there early. We'll have, there's a lot of good people there, and part of this is networking too. We don't want people just to come and sit and receive information. We want them to interact with each other. We want to interact with people. That's a part of human community. Very important for all of us to do.
And I've not had a chance to make it to every one of these, but the ones that I have had a chance to make it to, it's been really neat to see how people, a lot of the time, it's people who work in the same field but maybe not together, but they have a lot of the same interests and they do a lot of the same things. So you do get a chance to see that little spark, maybe some friendships that blossom right there at
Well, it
Partners in
isn't just
Education.
that. I think sometimes it breaks down some of the barriers that exist in our field. We're all so busy, and again, it comes back to this, the topic. We get so busy in the day and feel at times overwhelmed with that, right across the street, we don't know what they do, and putting names with faces. That was one of our hopes, and I think it's working.
Being able to maybe refer people to the right place for things.
Absolutely. There is not one agency or one individual that's got all the answers here or can provide everything.
Wait a minute,
for
I thought
every
you
situation.
did.
No. We're working toward it.
There you
We're
go.
not there yet.
I thought you had. I meant Eric. I
think I told you earlier, the longer I'm in this, the more I don't know.
That's the funny thing is, I'm the same way. When I was younger, there were a lot of things that I thought I knew, and now I realize I didn't know that. I didn't know it back then either. So at least now I know I didn't know.
In our field, whenever we would get called to present at a conference, that the rule of thumb was if it's from 90 miles or out, you're an expert.
Hey, there you go.
But not anymore for me. Maybe Matt at 15 years is still an expert at 90 miles out. But even if I go 900 miles, I'm not an expert.
Well, you should know on that regard, J.C. Chambers gets a lot of calls to present on the East Coast and West Coast and everywhere else.
But JC's an expert.
He is, but he doesn't do a lot of speaking engagements locally that I'm aware of. So we're thrilled to have him at the bakery downtown for Partners in Ed.
That's going to be great. And the program is coming up tomorrow, Compassion Fatigue, Supporting Professionals and Personal Wellness, again from 11:30 until 1. Get there a little early so you can grab some food ahead of time. If you get there at 11:30, they'll probably let you bring food in and enjoy it in there. But get there early.
You might get the scorn of Matt as you're sliding the door open.
The MC.
Yeah, he kind of gives you that corrective.
Don't come too late. We'll be out of key lime pie.
Key lime. I hope we have key lime now, Matt. And then, coming up, John, I always kind of like to sneak preview ahead, and we're not going to give up too much here, but I think the next two installments, both in August and September, it's probably a topic that's of most dear to my heart, and I believe Matt's too, is we're going to delve in to the 12 steps of recovery, both the research and the personal application. I think a lot of times people think they know what the 12 steps stand for, or they don't really understand what they attempt to accomplish. And I think what we're going to experience, in both August and September is kind of a journey of shows of why I believe that Keystone has survived and produced, some 23,000 alumni over the years, is because of that core belief that we have in the power of those 12 steps. So I'm excited about that.
It's a great topic.
And I'm a data person. I want data. I don't want to just take people's word for it. I want the science. I want the data. I want the information, because that's important to me, especially if I'm a consumer looking for something for help. And that's what we want to offer people, is to give them the good information that they can make decisions for themselves based on that.
Very nice. Well, again, the topic for tomorrow for Partners in Education, pie at the bakery tomorrow in downtown Sioux Falls, Compassion Fatigue, Supporting Professional and Personal Wellness. And again, thank you so much for listening to Partners in Education right here on Sunny Radio.